I've never been a big fan of Citizen. I like some of their watches, but most of what I see in their catalog is not something I would even think of buying. I like their mechanical watches and some of their high-end eco-drive watches, and recently I've been eyeing their timepieces from the Citizen collection, which are some of the best to come out of Japan. But if you do a Citizen watch search on YouTube, you'll come to find out that the Citizen, their flagship watches, aren't the most covered or talked about. In fact, the two most talked about Citizen watches in 2024 on YouTube were the Citizen Forza and Zenshin. Especially the Zenshin. Every watch channel has covered this watch in one form or another. But let's be clear, it's not the Giant Slayer, PRX Killer, or Grand Seiko Murderer that some YouTubers might have you believe. Today, I'll tell you why I don't like the Citizen Zenshin. And no, it's not because of the design, the looks, or even the hype. I'll go over this watch's major downside and why I think it should matter to you when thinking about buying this watch. Now I get it. The Citizen Zenshin looks great on both paper and in the flesh. It's a sharp, attractive sports watch, and it's got a beautiful textured dial that makes you want to get serious with this piece. But when you dig a little deeper into what's actually ticking inside the case, and get to experience the so-called super titanium material from Citizen, get up close with the folding clasp and witness the lack of coherence between the finishing on the case and bracelet, which by the way is a big red flag on a sports watch with an integrated bracelet, things start to get a bit murky. In this video, I won't cover the case or bracelet. Ben at Ben's Watch Club and Horologique covered those things thoroughly on their channels, so go check those videos out. What I'm going to talk about, however, is the 8 series movement in this watch, and how much it kills the Zenshin for me. Now I'm sure a lot of you may be wondering, what's the big deal? Does the movement really matter? Well, here's why I think it does. Let's take a step back. When we buy watches, we're not only buying a piece of metal or a pretty dial. We're buying into a movement, mechanism that makes the watch tick. And not all movements are created equal. The movement inside a watch is essentially its heartbeat. It affects everything: accuracy, longevity, and overall appeal of a watch. And when it comes to the Citizen Zenshin, the 8213 caliber simply doesn't cut it, especially in a watch at this price point. The Citizen 8213, like the 8210 in the Tsuyosa, is an automatic movement that has some key limitations. For starters, it's one of the absolute basic mechanical movements Citizen make today. And it's not a pretty movement either, but far from it. While it's durable and does its job, it's unrefined, lacks basic decoration. It's notorious for being noisy with the unidirectional rotor, beats at an elementary 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it's not accurate as other options available at this price point. Now I understand, some of you might not care that much about the inner workings of a watch. I get it, watches are about style, utility, and even nostalgia. But as a watch nerd, I care a lot about what's inside my timepieces. To me, the movement is what makes or breaks the experience. And honestly, I think you should care too. Think about it this way. When you buy a car, you don't just care about how it looks or how many cup holders it has, right? You care about the engine, you care about the build quality, and the number of horses under the hood. Watches, in my opinion, are no different. If you do your homework, you can get a watch that's powered by a much better movement. One that not only is more attractive to look at through the open case back, but also runs at a higher beat rate and has got the power reserve you're looking for. But most manufacturers know that most people don't look that deeply into what's under the case back. And they capitalize on that by slapping a cheap basic movement inside a watch, throwing it inside a pretty case, distracting you with a pretty dial, and offering it at an attractive enough price. Citizen even took it a step further with the Zenshin by giving us an open case back. It's almost as if they're mocking us. As if the basic movement inside wasn't enough, now they want us to look at it. That fake yellow gold hue is such a pain to look at. I've seen quartz calibers that look better. I can somewhat respect the A322 movement also from Citizen, for at least trying to look decent. But this just looks awful. If you want to go with a watch that is much better and costs half as much, Citizen actually has a much better option, the NB1050. This watch, in my opinion, is the real Zenshin Tsuyosa killer. It's powered by the Citizen 9 series movement, the 9011, which is a much better caliber than the 8 series movements. It has more joules, beats at 4 Hz, giving us that smooth sweep of the seconds hand, and it's more appealing to look at. You can see Citizen has actually made the effort with the 9 series to make it look attractive by hollowing out the rotor and giving the movement some decoration in the form of Geneva stripes. So if you're looking for something from Citizen that packs more value under the hood, this is where you should be looking. At the end of the day, it all comes down to what you want out of your watch. Maybe you don't care as much about the movement, and that's totally fine. If you like the Zenshin or the Tsuyosa and it works for you, go for it. But as part of the watch collecting hobby, I think it's important to understand what's powering the watches we wear. To me, dials are important. I love dials. I care about wearability, case designs and bracelets, but I also care about the movement. So that's my opinion. I'm not here to tell you what to buy or not buy, but I do think it's worth knowing what you're getting when you make a purchase. If you're looking for something with a bit more substance, don't just settle for the fluff that gets pushed by influencers, or the cheap options that only look good on the surface. Take the time to look a little deeper, and you'll discover that there are more premium choices available at the same price or even less that will serve you far better in the long run. That's it for today. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.